So ready.
So ready? We're
Yeah.
rolling. How's everyone doing tonight? It's I Quit My Band. Did I fuck that up? Hey, everyone, it's I Quit My Band.
Nice.
My name's
that was
Nate.
better. JJ.
Evan.
You guys looked at me like, what are you doing?
5 minutes on a
You
stand-up stage and you're fucking everything
I
up
know.
now.
I can't get my shit back. Can't get my shit together
He
after
lost his
my
mojo.
bombing.
Did you? I don't think you bombed.
No, I definitely didn't bomb, but it didn't. It's one of those things where you get off the stage and you're like, "That was great," and then you watch the video and you're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
wow, not as good as I thought."
In
Nate
your
did-
mind, you're crushing like
Yeah.
Chris Rock in like '96. Like people just like,
Where yeah, like that. I did get some claps. You know,
Nice.
some clapper.
I heard some clapter, which is good. But,
Clapter.
yeah,
Nice.
Wasn't it's just we'll get into it.
Nate did a
later.
5-minute stand-up.
We don't
set.
have to. Don't go searching for that.
Yeah.
We'll leave that to the detectives.
Yeah, you'll be at the Chuckle Hut in Tallahassee
Yeah, I'll
this
be at the
weekend.
Yeah,
Tallahassee
anyways,
Chuckle Hut.
NateCross.com on Squarespace. That's our first sponsor.
Follow my other podcast, Nate, every Monday.
My 2
It's
cents.
just Nate's 2 cents. It's just me talking to myself while I'm in bed, dude. That's it. That's all I do. I mean, that's it. Those guys are so proud of their awful fucking podcast.
Yeah.
Like us.
I was saying like, what's your angle here?
Yeah.
I was trying to set it up.
We stand on such
Setting
high
up a joke.
ground here.
But welcome back, everyone, to I Quit My Band. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We got another great review episode for you. We're going to be talking about an album that just came out today. We're going to be talking about Greep's new album, The New Sound. But before that, I'll say this. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok and Patreon. We got a newer episode, Patreon episode up. And subscribe to the channel on YouTube if you haven't. I think it's time we just, we're nice and warmed up.
Primed.
Let's get to why we're really here. Let's make a huge switch. If, people think we're crew heads, we're actually been listening to Geordie Greep, the former frontman of Black Midi, who was a progressive, I don't even know what you call it, like art rock band. Like,
Yeah.
Noise rock.
Noise rock, art rock.
Some post-punk in
Some
there.
post-punk, yeah. Probably widely regarded as a post-punk band. That was like a part of the new wave of post-punk. Everyone was fucking loving all those. Black Midi, Black Country New Road,
Yep.
Preoccupations. I feel like I'm forgetting a couple. Ice Age, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all those bands were releasing music at that time and like blowing up for making like weird shit, and Black Midi was definitely the weirdest of all of them.
Probably also the most musically talented.
Definitely
Yeah.
the most musically talented.
They had some
most
freakish shit going on in those songs.
instrumentals were just complicated all over the place. I mean, they just got weirder and weirder as they went. Their first album, Schlagenheim, was like, people were like, damn, what is this? And then they put out Cavalcade, and it was like, oh wow, this is it got so much worse. And worse in the way of just like complicated.
Yeah, I felt like they started to get less and less like accessible.
Exactly.
By the time they got to Hellfire, I was not a huge fan. I still liked Cavalcade, like John L. I really liked, but some of the middle stuff was when they started getting more into like the jazzier, airier type of compositions.
I liked Hellfire more than Cavalcade. I felt like some of the singles off of that were a little bit more accessible. Like Welcome to Hell is like a really like,
I like that song.
it's almost like just a rock song almost
It is.
at its core. But,
That's probably why I like it.
yeah. Really, I mean, they were a really cool band, and then just like Geordie Greep is the front man, and he just like announced out of the blue like a couple months ago, maybe like 2 months ago, that they were broken up, and he was releasing this album as a solo artist. Didn't say anything why they broke up as a band.
Didn't they say their fans are too annoying?
Something about their fans being weirdos.
I read some of that, but I read an interview with him for this album, and he talked about them just reaching a point where everything that they had done up until that point felt like interesting and alive, and then they had reached a point where it didn't feel that way anymore.
Kind of blew their load a little bit.
A little bit, like they just weren't creatively interested in the project, and I don't know if that's all of them wanting to go different ways, but it also sounded like touring was like a bummer, like because they put those 3 albums out pretty like
They
back
were
to back to
fast,
back.
Yeah.
I remember.
And we saw them live. Did all 3 of us go?
We were all there
Yeah, I
at
was there.
Spirit, right?
One of the sickest
It was
shows
such an awesome
I've
show.
ever seen in
Yeah.
my entire life.
also saw them at Pitchfork in 2019, and yeah, it was awesome. Just
Wow.
a muddy mess, and people don't know how to mosh to that shit either.
No, well,
They're
it's
just like,
not in 4/4, so you
yeah,
can't,
like you don't know
ri-
exactly what to do or how to react.
It's
Yeah.
like to mosh to that, you have to be like one of those car inflatable people,
Yeah,
just
it's-
like throwing
yeah,
limbs
yeah.
wherever. Because with that much like musical virtuosity, I didn't expect them to rip as hard as they fucking did.
They really
Yeah, they
did.
ripped.
They always had some songs or even just sections of songs that had these head banging sections.
Yeah.
And then they would have sections that were just like filled with horns and like jazzy parts, and
And
you're like,
screeching.
what the fuck is going on here? Yeah. And they had like cool stories in their music as well. Like I think Hellfire, there was a lot of songs about like war. So they knew how to tell a story in their songs as well. And yeah, it's a shame they're broken up, but yeah, maybe they did kind of blow their load because Cavalcade and Hellfire came out like it was like 2021 and 2022, like really back to back. And after hearing this new Geordie Greep record, I feel like it's pretty clear he was the creative
Yes.
brain behind that band.
It felt like it, yeah. It definitely felt like the music was moving in the direction that we hear on this record, but this is it like completely not
Untapped.
completely divorced, because there's definitely some stuff that I'm like, that feels like that could have been a Black Midi song
Yeah,
or something
yeah.
like that. But it's definitely jazzier and more like big band.
Yeah. There's like
Theatrical.
Yeah.
There's like
Yeah.
a, like a Phil Collins vibe to some of these songs somehow. I don't know how to put it. I just get that vibe. He's definitely like trying to paint himself, I guess, as like that kind of guy. Like he's a character in this album. We did review one of the songs, Holy
got
Holy,
ripped
on the
up
channel,
in the
and we
comments,
got
dude.
destroyed. And we will say it was a fuck up on our part,
Definitely.
because we're just talking.
We're like, what does he think? He's a sex symbol all of a sudden. And then you listen to the lyrics, it's very clear
It's very clear he's
playing
playing a character. Yeah,
I mean,
we got
we-
chewed up in the comments. I almost was like, we should take it down. I'm like, no.
No,
We
leave that.
are leaving this. We're
We chose
living
an
in this.
angle, and we got to stick with it.
Yeah,
you know?
we did it. We said it.
Yeah.
We recorded it. It's out there.
Yeah, who cares?
Go watch us talking about Holy Holy and just getting the whole thing wrong.
holy,
completely.
holy thing wrong.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I think the whole album is kind of that character he's playing, this kind of, like, gross Lothario playboy that, like, is in over his head a little bit.
Yeah, it's like a concept album.
Yeah.
And the more I listened to it, it felt like a guy that would have paid for Andrew Tate's classes.
Yeah.
But like doesn't have the heart to actually be that kind of
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Like he's a graduate of Hustler University,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
he wants a stripper to fall in love with him.
Yes, he ultimately he pays for the class, but then he also pays for sex
Yeah.
at the
Yes.
same time.
Yes.
Let's just dive in. What do you guys say?
Let's go.
It's the new sound by Geordie Greep, and it's I Quit My Band.
Here we go.
Here's the first track. It's called Blues. This is a tough one because I think after listening to the entire record, this is probably like easily my least favorite song on the record.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, and that's tough to start off a record that way. Like, I think I'm the most like I don't know if it's just like hearing it when you like the first track going into something and it's this like perplexing, but the guitars feel like the most annoying to me. Like it feels like a Black Midi song, except not. It doesn't go over that edge of like being like really rockin' ever. Like it just feels more like I'm just kind of like waiting the whole time. What did you guys think?
I liked it for the fact that it felt like it was kind of easing me in from like the black MIDI sound with that like real
Yeah.
repetitive riff. This like the you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that reminds me of something that would be on like Schlagenheim.
Yeah.
And for some of the more like very airy, very jazzy, very repetitive stuff, this was one that I looked forward to coming back to. And the lyric, this part too, because some of it just stays like very like classically jazz sounding.
Yeah.
But the stuff works the best for me when he introduces this like anxious, weird feeling, because that's when his voice works the best. And he's like crooning on a lot of this
He
stuff.
is crooning.
And sometimes
He's a
that
crooner.
just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Whereas this, when he's talking about the guy having the biggest dick in the world,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
The lyrics on this album are wild.
they're
Yeah.
wild, and some
Like,
of them are
consistently.
hilarious.
They're funny and also wild at the same time. But yeah, I mean, I guess I just felt like this was like a tamer, just a tame version of a Black MIDI song. I feel like there's a song on either Cavalcade or Hellfire that has a riff that's similar to this, but it kind of goes for it more. Like the muted, like riff on this, like the palm muted, like it just feels like I'm watching like ants like scatter or bees in the background of someone like yelling at me, and I'm like,
Is that the title track of Cavalcade? That's like.
Maybe. I thought it was this song called Dethroned, but I
Could be
haven't
like
listened
10
to it.
different Black
Yeah.
MIDI songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the horns.
Yeah,
That's what
maybe.
I'm thinking.
I'm not sure.
I don't know
JH?
how they keep this up for as long as they do.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
staccato, like whatever, and he's like basically free verse poetry over
Yeah.
this shit, which is even more difficult to wrap your head around. Kind of. There's not really like choruses to these songs.
No. Not
Which
at
is
all.
probably why I struggle with it as much as I do. But it's certainly impressive and it sounds good.
If you're a Motley Crue head, you're not gonna,
No,
you're not gonna
dude.
like this album.
When are you gonna get to talk about getting canceled?
Yeah. Throw
And
me the
read
canceled
song
part.
called "Canceled."
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a really sick drum fill towards the end of this
Oh,
that
I
he
know what
like
you're talking
shreds on.
It,
Yeah.
this sounds like it could be the same drummer from Black MIDI.
I know Morgan Simpson is on a couple tracks.
Oh, is he? I
yeah,
didn't know
I
that.
think he's on Motorbike or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And Morgan Simpson's a fucking
So
I'm
beast.
just a freak. at
I was
drums.
really bummed that when Black MIDI broke up, I was like, I'll never like see that guy play again. Seeing that guy play live is
At least we got to once.
We got to once. Yeah.
Unreal, dude. The energy and tightness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Playing like the weirdest fucking shit
He was
of all
so
time.
good.
You don't
Yeah.
hold down a groove for like 5 seconds. It's
Yeah.
just always on to the next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
You guys want to move on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's Terra.
I gotta remember this one.
Yeah, this is one where you're like, which insane
What crazy
prog
thing is
song
this?
is this one
Yeah.
again?
See, this one is one of my least favorites. It's like the introduction of the Latin rhythm. It's
Yeah.
very jazzy.
That's what I. Yes, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. He croons like to almost like, and I'm sure that's part of it is he's doing it to an almost humorous effect how over the top he's being,
Yeah.
but he's still doing it and I'm still listening
Yeah,
to it.
yeah.
You know, so sometimes with this album I understand the intent, especially after our comment section schooled us, but it's still going in my ears. You
Yeah,
know what
yeah.
I mean?
Yeah, it's still the song.
Yeah.
And you still have to listen to the song. That's what people don't understand. They're just like, it's a character. Okay, it's like, just because it's a character doesn't mean it's like automatically.
It's
that's-
good
It's
now.
good.
Yeah, I love
That's
it now.
great.
That's
Yeah.
true. I mean, especially committing to a bit like, or not a bit, but like a character like this for an hour long, basically,
Right.
of like dense chunks of
Yeah,
lyrics and
yeah.
like being like, I don't know, have any idea what this guy is like in real life, but like, he's like a lad. You
He's a
know?
lad. He's a little lad.
He's a mad lad.
He's a mad. He is the
And
mad
he's
lad.
pissed. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But his voice sounds like Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers a little
He
bit.
does kind of sound like
Does
Flea.
does
Holy
Flea
shit.
sound like this?
I mean, not the singing part, but like more when like when he's like, there was a there was a plate that was filled with sauerkraut in the restaurants.
He kind of does have like Flea from The Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
Flea's
That
throatiness.
accent, yeah.
We're going to cut off your Johnson. We believe in nothing,
Have you
Lebowski.
checked your balls? There's like
Geordie
a.
Greep is one of the nihilists.
The nihilists.
From The Big Lebowski.
That's why he's still making music,
Yeah.
and the other dudes and whatever.
We want the money, Lebowski. I didn't mind this one because I felt like this one was like I thought this should be the opener. Like I feel like it introduced me to the album better than Blues did. Like Blues, I felt like if you're gonna put it somewhere, maybe put it mid-record. This one just wasn't as long. I felt like the jazziness kind of, I don't know, it just prepared me better for what was to come.
I think Blues is trying to reel in all the former
The black
MIDI
heads.
heads.
Yeah. Like he's like becoming this like, you know, like fucking commercial cruise ship captain
Yeah.
on this song. Where Blues, he just sounds like a pervert. Like here, I feel like he's kind of more like grandiose than ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I just the album works for me when there's like an introduction of like darkness, anxious energy. And this is impressive,
Yeah.
but it doesn't sound unlike this music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Latin jazz.
Yeah.
It's
Like-
the fruit on the head.
This is like cruise ship stuff.
Yeah,
You know?
like well done with really good
Yeah.
instrumentation and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But there's nothing about it that feels like as original as Blues did.
Yeah.
It's got like some big bandy type stuff
Yeah.
going on too.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just waiting for them to bust out like a full like Buddy Rich like spang spang a lang spang a lang
yeah.
da ding dang. You know.
Yeah.
that
I
kind of
love the
shit.
way you stopped everyone. You're like,
Well,
you're
I
like
was
the
hearing
guy, the fucking teacher from Whiplash. Should we move
I do
on?
like that scream
Yeah,
at the end.
Yeah,
the
that
scream
is
is
sick.
great. Yeah.
It's pretty nice.
New appreciation for this song. Holy.
Yeah, now that I know it's a
Now that
character.
I know the character.
I
mean,
love it
It's
now.
great.
Everybody commenting that was like, oh, maybe they'd like the song if they knew this. was a character.
Yeah. And I do.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's still. I mean, it's very much like Black MIDI. It's taken like the Black MIDI approach and then mixing it in with the jazzy, smooth jazz cruise ship thing we were just talking about. I think out of like the first three we've just heard, like it really like melds those worlds together really well. But yeah, it's still. I mean, it's just the lyrical content. To go back to like the Eminem review, you know, it's still like, it's just he's playing this creep character like too well almost, where it's just like these lyrics are just kind of just ridiculous to listen to. Like it just makes me go like, yeah, I'm not gonna listen to that song like while I'm like walking down the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll make me like, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll make me like grab an ass, and I'm like, what am I doing?
There is a part of like realizing it was a character and hearing these in the context that did help me appreciate something, like when he's talking about like, you know my name and stuff, like by the end he's like bargaining for the girlfriend experience. At the end, that stuff's all right. I do agree that it does a better job out of at least the first couple of melding those two styles. You have like that John L. triplet thing.
Yeah.
And then into this, like the more Latin jazz type stuff. But it's not among my favorite songs on the record. Because I think later on, there's a stretch of songs where he's able to meld those two in like a really satisfying way.
I would agree, I mean, he's so over the top on this song. I think that might be really what it is.
And his vocal approach is going to be a make or break for so many people.
Yeah.
Some people, like, there's a guest singer that comes out later that is like almost immediately you're like, that would have been.
That's what I need.
Yeah.
That would have been singer.
I totally agree with you.
And I do think that Greep his strangeness and the fact that it doesn't quite fit probably plays to the idea.
Yeah.
But even as good as that idea isn't going to probably be like the thing that I'm like, man, I can't wait to listen to that again.
Yeah.
Like a bad Lothario.
Yeah. I know. I feel the same way. Let's move on. Here's the new sound.
Title track.
This is just an instrumental. But I really like this. I really just thought it was impressive, and like that like big fucking triumphant like explosion that comes in at, like in the middle with like the wah wah guitar.
Yeah, and there's like a cool chord progression that like keeps walking up.
Yeah, it's really neat.
Yeah, I don't love jazz. I used to I used to like work at a jazz station. I was a DJ at a jazz station.
What?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
What was it called?
it was WDUQ. It's
Oh.
WESA now.
Oh, yeah.
But like I was
WDDQ, the Dairy,
the Dairy Queen hour
the Dairy
with
Queen.
Evan Mulger, where I just talk about different types
Yeah.
of ice cream cake.
You ever
I like.
flip one of these upside down?
Hey, come grill and
It
chill
doesn't
with
come
me.
out.
And I listened to a ton of jazz in that time period,
Yeah.
and there's just still something about it that just washes all over
Yeah.
my smooth monkey brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is like well constructed jazz.
Yeah.
Like he definitely has a ear and talent for it.
Yeah.
It's just unless you're doing something to like this is the part I like this like
Yeah. That walk up.
unless you're doing something to like fuck up the jazz formula.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to like get an in on it.
Yeah.
Well, it's such highbrow shit for the most part, because like the best musicians have to play it.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And I can only speak for myself, but I'm a caveman. You
Yeah.
know?
Oh yeah, me too.
Van Halen 1, dude.
Yeah,
That's my
yeah.
Bible.
That's what I
Yeah.
like. Yeah.
And but like I took drum lessons as a kid from a jazz drummer, so like I kind of had to like learn and grow how to appreciate this, and like I do, but I'm never listening to it and being like, oh
Yeah.
That cat can wail.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But seeing it in person, like I've gone to like jazz clubs and stuff before, seeing like a jazz guitar player just like flawlessly run scales over
Yeah.
weird chord progressions is a thrill, and
Yeah.
it's very impressive. But it's a different experience over headphones or something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I love this part.
It's very musical-esque
Yeah.
and show tunesy.
Yeah.
It
This
just-
whole thing I'm talking about.
It shows how talented of a musician and like composer he is.
Big time.
Yeah.
Like he's a nut. He's just a fucking nutcase. But yeah, I don't love jazz either. Jazz is always the thing to me where like if you say you like it, you probably actually don't. You know what I mean? Like if you're not the like a jazz hound.
If you're not a jazz hog.
If you're not a jazz hog, you're probably like there's probably gonna be some jazz. You're like, check this out, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
no.
IQMB
Maybe I
goes
don't
jazz.
Like it. Yeah.
Jazz.
We've never spoken about jazz
We
before.
haven't spoken
Yeah.
about jazz ever.
I quit my quartet.
Yeah, but I just I appreciated that like big like that sick fucking thing that we were just listening to, the wah. and
Yeah,
the
I mean it's
wah,
impressive
wah,
to
wah.
be able to like
Yeah.
hear these in your head. And I was reading about how he recorded this, and it did give me a better appreciation before listening to it. It's like he worked with studio musicians, and like
Yeah,
sometimes he would
yeah.
just have a session. Like he was in Brazil for one of them, and like came in on the day with like the charts and was able to
Yeah.
get
That's
like
crazy.
a track together, and that takes a level of musical
Yeah, that's
talent.
insane.
Like
Yeah.
you drop me
Yeah.
in front of a bunch of musicians and just be like, see this riff I'm playing.
It's on 5.
Yeah, 5
3.
on the big one, and then we go down to 7 on the one below
It's
that.
5,
Yeah.
3, and then no, fuck.
And then on the drums, if you could just hit me with a
Yeah, just a simple beat.
Yeah.
Open up that hi
yeah,
hat.
splash the hi hat,
Yeah.
make it wet.
Actually, move it over to the crash. We're
Yeah.
smashing,
And
dude.
I'm like, do you want it like this? I said simple beat.
No fills.
Is it 4/4, buddy?
Yeah, yeah.
You're talking Greek.
I can't. Numbers?
I'm here for math. I'm here to riff.
I'm here to riff.
Hit
Let's
'em with
move
the
on.
riff.
Here's walk up. Yeah, this was like the most like evil sounding on the album. I thought.
I
Most
love this.
Sinister. I really liked it. Lyrics on this one, I think, they kind of take the cake as the wildest.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing
Is this where he talks about checking your balls for lumps?
Checking your balls for lumps.
Yes.
Yeah.
The snatch. I wrote some down. Still smell her snatch.
Yeah.
As you look over like accounts or something, and then
That's
like the
nice.
fish, lonely executive cunt.
Nice.
Yeah, check your balls for lumps.
That's
just
cool.
all over.
He's
the
going
place.
buck wild. on
He
that.
really is a wild
is.
man.
Yeah, I like this song a lot. I like the contrast between like the very classical jazz, and then
Yeah.
it goes into this like
Yeah.
ugly fucking like noisy stomp
Yeah.
stuff. Like this is when it's at its most interesting, where like he's showing what like the two worlds he's so good at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being able to like pass
Yeah.
between them effortlessly is so interesting to me
Yeah.
as a listener.
Dynamics.
And then he does this weird skit thing at about like the 3-minute mark,
Yeah, at
where
the
it's
end.
like, "Shut the fuck up!"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it goes into like a cowboy song.
Yeah.
And it's like, "I got 2 words for you, fuck you," and it's like only Geordie Greep could have made
I
this
know.
song.
It's
you know?
just he's really making a name for himself in the ridiculousness factor. You know, like
Rob Dyrdek.
he's gonna be on ridiculousness.
Yeah.
but like he does seem like a true weirdo though.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
Yes.
he's not a guy who's like going out and being like, "Hey, I want to make the weirdest album of all time."
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm just gonna make my
I'm gonna
album.
make an album.
and it's
And
gonna
it
be
just
weird as fuck."
happens to be
Yeah.
fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah, and like the there are times where this album really, really works for me, and it's when he's leaning on that more so.
Yeah.
Like I feel like when he's leaning on like, here's how good of just like a jazz composition I can make.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, but like this, who is doing
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
For me, this one felt the most like, maybe not the most so far, but definitely like it could have been a Black Midi song. Like if Black Midi were to progress, they probably would have sounded a lot like this, because they had some ridiculous skits in their songs too towards the end on Hellfire, and it just felt a lot to me like a Black Midi song with more disgusting lyrics and jazzier compositions, I guess.
The bass is so thick in this part
Yeah,
too.
yeah. The bass reminded me so much of Black Midi. Just
Yeah.
like that kind of like low, like muted, just bass all the way up, treble,
Driving.
down
Yeah.
bass. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Do you want to move on?
Mhm.
Here's Through a War.
So this is a jazzier one, but I do like this one more than some of the other jazzy ones because I feel like there's a more natural progression of like melody and pieces.
Yeah.
Like there, it actually, some of the really airy, we're jamming, he's kind of crooning over top of it. It's like I don't know what a beginning
where
and
we're
end. Yeah, exactly. Whereas this has like ideas that feel like they build up, they fall down. Feels
Yeah.
more like a song.
It kind of starts off the whole second half of the record that way, I feel like, because this song, like you just said, it has a riff to it, like that, like it
Yeah.
has something to go back to, and then I think for the rest of the record, it almost, some of the other songs do that as well. Again, some pretty ridiculous lyrics here.
Hit us with some.
There's a lyric that I love. He goes on this like whole thing of like
Yeah.
what courage looks like.
Yeah.
Because have you ever seen a woman give birth to a goat? That's what courage looks like.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm just like, what,
What does that even mean?
Okay.
I liked, I would have disemboweled myself just to hold your hand.
That's a great line.
That's a wild
That's-
level of symphonization.
Yeah.
That's
right there.
incel
That is
extreme.
incel
That
extreme.
dude
max.
is just first in line to see Joker too.
Oh,
dude.
yeah. Tonight we're gonna drink till I look like Hercules.
I love that.
Yeah,
line,
that's
too.
that's good.
That's
yeah.
pretty good.
You're gonna need to be drinking hearty levels of whiskey.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
30 deep.
30 deep. Yeah. 30 whiskeys later. Yeah, I didn't mind this. I mean, it feels slower, I guess, than other songs. Like it's not that like Black Midi like where
Yeah.
it's fucking all over the place, which I appreciated. But it's I don't know. I guess when I look back at the record, I feel like I keep forgetting about this one. I don't know. It just is always there's always one on like a longer record like this where I'm like, oh yeah, that one's good.
It just kind of drags for me, this one.
Drags a bit.
You know, I wish it got to the point. I don't know what the point is faster, but as we get to the latter half of the album, also there's more songs that are a little bit longer. Than I mean, this is an hour-long album, so you know, fatigue starts to set in. It's like how much
it's so dense.
Yeah,
it's so
That's
dense.
what I could really say about this.
Part of that interview I read where he was talking about his songwriting process, and he goes, I don't understand how people don't just put every idea that you have into a song.
Yeah.
And that is like the exact opposite of what I think.
Yeah,
like a
me
song
too.
should be just trying to like one really
part.
clear idea.
Yeah.
If we can get everything to work in there, whereas he's like, no, kitchen sink. Don't leave anything on the field. And it shows in this album.
Really
and I
shows.
think sometimes it works very well, and other times there's just a lot of shit going on.
Too much going on.
Too much shit.
Let's move on to Bongo Season. It's a shorter one.
Mm-hmm.
Get a nice little breather here. 2.5 minutes.
That's cool.
He really fucking likes bongos. I mean,
Bongos are cool.
bongos have made an appearance on I think every song so far,
Yeah.
and he's just letting the spotlight be on the
Let
bongos.
rip. It's
Yeah.
the
Bongos.
season.
It's
Bongos.
the season.
It's the season of
new
the
sound.
bongos.
Yeah.
I this one has more melody to it
Yeah.
than some of the other ones.
Really
you know?
like the ending, the bongo season sweeping the globe. I just thought that was charming and funny.
Yeah, it's like if you're gonna do like a dumb
Yeah,
little
a dumb
aside
song.
about bongos.
Yeah.
It's like you could do worse.
I enjoy it.
Certainly could do worse.
It's for some reason a standout for me, even though he probably didn't intend it to be. I'm like, bongo season.
Show up at the Black Midi
Yeah.
reunion show in 15 years.
Yeah.
Bongos!
season.
Shut the fuck up!
Can someone get that asshole out of here?
Get that asshole out of here. That's
What
how I
did he
imagine
say when he
Geordie
walked
Greep
on
song.
stage? Do you remember Black Midi came out to the Rocky theme?
Yeah.
I forget what the hell he said.
He
They were
said
wearing
something
like
hilarious.
Adidas tracksuits.
He had
Yeah.
an Adidas tracksuit, and I forget what he said.
I don't remember what he said, but I remember they came out to the Rocky theme and they had the wrestling announcement. They're like,
Yeah.
Black Hellfire Midi,
Yeah.
and I was like, hell yeah.
That was
And
sick.
well,
So
then
sick.
we see them like ripping darts immediately after the show.
Yeah.
And you could just tell Geordie's like, yeah, man,
Yeah.
whatever.
We
Yeah.
were with a dude, or they were not with him, but there was a guy
Who went up to him?
who we like knew.
Was
I
it like
think
my
you-
brother's friend?
Yeah, it was your brother's friend.
Yeah.
Like saw us and then
Yeah.
saw Black Midi outside, and he was like,
Yeah.
"I gotta go say hi, man." And I was like, "All right,
Good luck."
fucking luck."
I
Yeah.
think he got a. Yeah.
All the dudes in Black Midi were like as tall as this. They were,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, they were
4'6".
Mhm.
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, here it is. Bongo season. It's fucking beautiful. I love that.
It's getting a little silly.
Yeah,
Geordie
it's
is?
very silly.
Yeah.
I like the song though. Let's move on.
This one's my favorite one.
Motorbike. Yeah, the
I
one
really-
where he's not singing.
I really like Seth Evans' voice.
Yeah, Seth Evans is cool.
In a contrast, I guess, to Geordie's, but it also like in the middle gets so heavy.
Yeah,
And
It's
that's
a great
I like that
song.
part.
yeah.
It feels like if Black Country New Road and Black Midi made a song together.
That's what I wrote down. I was just like, this sounds like the most like Black Midi / Black Country New Road song. It sounds like the singer, the original singer from Black Country New Road.
Black Midi
Yeah.
Country.
Yeah, they did do that. They did like
They collabed.
Black Midi New Road or something like. They had a
What?
couple of shows like that where I
Oh,
think they
yeah,
were
yeah.
like titled that.
That's cool.
But yeah, very interesting. Definitely the most intense on the album, and like I don't know, just the thickest, and just like listen to that. It sounds like a fucking train car accident.
So sick.
Like
though.
what is going on?
How do you do this?
What is going on?
Yeah, I think this is Morgan Simpson. I mean, that
Yeah.
groove is just so fucking.
So many
Yeah.
ghost notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that guy's voice is a very welcome change.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there is part of you that thinks like, if he would have sang on more of this, maybe it would have worked
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been the Greep though.
It would have
No.
been the Greeper. I don't mind Geordie's voice.
I don't
mean,
mind his voice. I do think that it gets a little too theatrical at some points.
At some points,
And
yeah.
a little too manic at times too,
Yeah.
like where he's just spewing out so much exposition at once.
Yeah.
See, I love that.
Well,
Like
you read
that-
books.
I do read books. But I like lean into being a freak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's your superpower. Like this guy can croon well.
Yeah.
Like over this stuff. And when Geordie's like when the music is getting chaotic and Geordie's yelling at me about
Yeah.
what it means to have courage,
Yeah.
I believe
Yeah.
whatever he's saying.
Yeah, I think so too. There's a lyric on this song that I love. Would you love someone like me if you knew you would not get caught? That's a good ass
Wow.
lyric. I like that.
Makes
a
you
lot.
think, doesn't it?
Doesn't it?
I mean,
I don't know if
like-
it makes you think, but it's just I don't know. I just liked it.
Yeah, it's amazing how much mileage he's able to get out of what seems to be a guy trying to get a prostitute to date him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like
whole
an
time.
That's what
hour
it's like
long
the whole
album.
thing
Just
is
down
about.
bad.
Yeah. He's very down bad.
Yeah.
The most down.
Yeah.
Down bad, the album.
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I like this one a lot.
Me too. Yeah,
Yeah.
like the switch between the delicate jazz to
Yeah.
these like freak out sections. There's a really cool riff at like 3:30 that I can't like think of right now, but I
Yeah.
wrote that down, so I'm sure it exists.
Yeah.
We're at 3. Here, let me just get...
And I think this, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
like the drums are like
Yeah.
deconstructing,
Out of time.
horns blowing.
Yeah, it feels like a Willy Wonka like machine that's like
And the rowers keep on rowing.
yeah, exactly
yeah,
that part where you're in
yeah.
the tunnel.
Yeah.
you're in
Yeah.
the tunnel. It is growing.
Yeah, he's
I don't know what
freaking
he
out.
says. Yeah.
You lose.
You
Good
lose.
day, sir.
You get nothing. Let's move on. Here it is, dude. This is my favorite.
This is
Easily my
another
favorite.
great song.
As if Waltz.
Yeah, as if Waltz. When you said that about through the war, where it has like a melody that it comes back to, I felt like what you were saying about through the war. I feel that way about as if Waltz. It has the most distinct, like separation of like intensity and softness and jazziness, and the guitar riff. I mean, it's like a clear guitar. Like he's always coming back to this. Like, yeah. It reminds me kind of some of the Western type stuff that Black Midi was doing. There was a song called Western on Schlagenheim, and then there was another one on Hellfire. I can't remember the name of right now, but yeah, those were always my favorite Black Midi songs. The one that had a little bit of a twang to it, but I just love that guitar line. It's just so catchy. It's like the catchiest on the album, I think.
Yeah, that little like
Yeah.
doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the most interesting things on the record for me are like this interplay between dark, creepy, and then like genuinely classically pretty.
Yeah.
And this one does it really well, and I think his voice works better.
Oop, sorry.
Uh-oh.
Oh my god!
Oh, and we're back.
Oh,
Folks.
we're back, folks.
Sorry about that.
We're not gonna edit that out, so
We'll leave
Great.
it.
just have to deal with that.
It's not worth it. Classic beauty.
Oh
Darkness.
yeah. And I think his voice works better in that context.
Yeah.
Like opening with that kind of creepy, uneasy
Yeah.
sort of arpeggio, and then moving into this like pretty section. It's like I can take the crooning better for some reason when we like emerge from the
Yeah.
dregs. You know?
Just listen to how pretty these violins are.
Yeah.
It's like a fairy is gonna pop out.
It's a
grant
movie
you a
score,
wish.
maybe.
Yeah.
This is the waltz part.
This is
This is one.
a waltz.
This
part.
is a waltz
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, I really liked it.
And then when it like kicks back in,
Yeah.
feels good.
It like stings your ear. Like there's like a part when the guitars come back in.
Right there.
They kinda
it's
did
like,
that on
There's
purpose.
just like it feels like something's about to pop in your ear, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, and then
Like
it
your
just goes right
headphones are
back.
fucking up or
Yeah,
something.
that's
Yeah.
exactly what I thought every time I heard this. I'm like, whoa,
Whoa.
and then yeah, it just kicks right back in.
And there's a part where he says something about having sex, and then it hits you with like the dude's rock riff.
Does it really?
Yeah,
What?
wait for it. It's coming.
I don't remember that. I mean, oh yeah.
Maybe. I think it's coming up.
Watch you fuck other men, yeah.
Yeah,
there
there we go.
I literally wrote down.
Well.
I literally wrote down. Watch you fuck other men. Some of the guitars are pretty sick.
It hits you with the wham.
I was definitely thinking that as I was like, fucking other men. Oh, sick guitar riff.
I wish there could be like just a universal soundboard for like when dudes are hanging out. It's like, dude, I hooked up with this girl last night. Bwah, bwah.
Yeah. Pizza's here.
Bwah, bwah.
Yeah. This is one of the only albums I've ever written anything down for.
I noticed
I'm just
that.
like I couldn't keep everything
very
straight.
dense.
It's so dense.
I'm trying to raw dog
Yeah.
this, and I am struggling.
It's a struggle. Let's move on.
I do like the jam towards the end. One thing that I'll say is,
Oh, sorry.
oh, you're good. The guitar lines like are very distorted, but he's still playing in that like very clean jazz style, where like when he does those runs, it almost feels like a run on a piano, like
Yeah.
which is really impressive to
Yeah.
like not just like any time that I
To
get a chance, I'm fucking
I will
bending.
never
Yeah.
be
Wiggity,
this
wiggity, wiggity.
technical
Yeah.
at guitar ever. I watched him play, I think, the new sound live in a studio, and that was crazy to see. I mean, the way he plays, he's like really going for like it sounds like he's going to break all of his strings of how
Wow.
hard he's playing. He's a madman. Absolute madman.
absolutely unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Geordie Greep with a new minute.
A new minute from Geordie Greep.
This is The Magician.
A new 60 minutes from Geordie Greep.
This is a 12-minute song
Yeah.
that I feel like I don't remember much of.
Really?
Yeah.
This
feel
is far and away my favorite thing on the record.
really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice. I just feel like on a dense record, an already dense record, a 12-minute song towards the end of the record, I'm like kind of tuning out a little bit, I guess. I don't know. Is that how you felt, maybe? I don't know.
A 12-minute song, I feel like, is best served as like some sort of epic.
It is pretty epic.
And it
I would
is,
say.
but
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we've been hit with like 7-ish quote epics already.
Yeah.
You know?
The whole album is pretty epic.
It is.
But I mean, this one is. It's definitely a journey. I would say that.
Yes.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I think it's like it's the most musically interesting. It's the most like melodically satisfying, and on a record that can feel very cluttered. The use of like space in this song,
Yeah.
I found like really impressive. Like there's just little things going off here and here.
It's very-
like you're kind of like just floating along. Nothing's holding it together.
Yeah.
Like even the guitar, which is what opens
Yeah.
it, is just playing this kind of like airy thing. And then when it builds up, it's like it feels like mammoth.
The build is huge, but I will say that you are right. That it's just like maybe that's what my big problem with it is, without really realizing it, is that it's so flowery and floaty and airy that I'm like that I don't have anything to grab onto. That I'm just kind of waiting for the build the whole time, and it comes like 75% way through the song. So I'm just like I just want to get there. But yeah, there are like little cool parts, like just like that, for example, like that, boom, and you're just like it comes out from there.
I think it just gives me too much time to zone out.
That
You
might
know?
be what it is for me too.
I just
like,
zone out during
yeah,
this one.
yeah,
Yeah, I think his vocal is kind of the thing that keeps me going. Out of all of the songs, I think this is his
yeah.
strongest vocal performance.
He's
where-
like he sounds like Jiminy Cricket.
a little
you know?
bit, yeah. It does
He's like,
kind of.
like
Yeah, it's like what Gene wanted to do.
yeah,
on,
absolutely.
Wish Upon a Star, or whatever the fuck that song was. This is what he thought he
This
was
is
going to
what
sound
Gene
like.
Simmons was
Yeah.
doing.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah, the last 3 songs are what I'm going to continue to come back to on this record for me. Like this really works. The last 2 really work, and I feel like it's the strongest melding of what I know of Geordie Greep from like
Yeah.
Black Midi and this new big band musical kind of direction. Like this is
It is just. That is Disney level.
It is Disney.
It's Disney level.
It's fucking huge.
It's so big, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
for like a rock musician to
Yeah.
write something like this is pretty impressive.
I mean, the thing is that that's a song. That's
Yep,
3.5
that's it.
minutes.
Oh, there's
We
another
got,
9.
We got
dude.
we got 7 more. No, yeah, 9 more minutes. Jesus Christ, it's a lot.
It's good though.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
It's good. I
9 more
understand.
minutes.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
You know, if this was coming at the end of like a half an hour of music and not 45 minutes
Yeah.
of music,
Yeah.
you might greet it with a bit more. But
Yeah, it might just be the placement, like, because I mean, I did enjoy listening to it, but I just think I'm just more like I'm ready to go to sleep.
Yeah.
yeah, I was really taken by it.
Let's move on. Last track. If You Are But a Dream.
I believe this is a Frank Sinatra cover.
Is it really? It
think
kind of
so.
sounds like that.
Yeah, for me, this is kind of when
This is more If You Wish Upon a Star.
Yeah,
stuff.
it kind of is. It's such a goofy, cartoonish Frank Sinatra type of ending to a song, like Italian restaurant guys, guy in the white suit singing while you're just like eating a bowl of spaghetti.
Yeah, it's to me it's when this album is at its least interesting for me.
Yeah.
When it is just trying to be a jazz big band
Yeah.
sort of whatever.
Nursery rhyme.
Yeah,
I
type
would have
thing.
ended with Magician.
Yeah. It this feels like a bonus track.
It's a bonus track.
It's a BT.
It's a beat.
It's a BT.
It's a BT.
Yeah. When he's doing like the more Zappa, weirdo kind of blending of everything together, that's when I'm like, wow, this is taking someone who doesn't even give a shit about jazz
Yeah.
to be interested in this music.
Yeah.
Whereas like when this is just like a standard done by somebody who doesn't sing as good as Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah, I agree too.
I didn't think anything really of this.
I think it's a really nice melody, and it feels familiar to me. Like I've
Yeah.
heard this before. I don't know why, but it's probably just a classic like bunch of chords
Yeah.
that get matched up. you
It's
know?
very pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we go into the CAs while
Sure.
this is
CAs,
kind
brother.
of playing us out?
Yeah. Ev,
While
why don't you go
Geordie's playing us?
first?
Yeah, go first, Ev.
Sure. Yeah, I was surprised by this record in a lot of different ways. When I heard Holy Holy, I was not very excited by it. It seemed like they were moving further from the stuff in Black Midi that I found interesting. It was jazzier and stuff like that, so that's what I was expecting. And I did get a lot of that, but what I wasn't expecting was there to be more songs that captivated my interest in ways that I wasn't expecting. I do think it's maybe ambitious to a fault. He's really going for it on every single song. Like there's not a whole lot of restraint in terms of the arrangements in a lot of these songs. And when he uses more restraint and when he uses more like clear direction on songs like The Magician, songs the Waltz, Motorbike, where it's like we're gonna have all these elements, the same ones that are in those, like the same ones that are in Terra, but we're not just having them be up at 10 the whole time jamming. We're going to like implement them in ways like a conductor would. That stuff I found really impressive. So this is probably an album that I'm not gonna listen front to back very often, but there are going to be a lot of songs that I come back to because I was genuinely like, wow, that was really cool. I wasn't expecting that. That being said, just because some of those songs do really rank high for me, I'm going to give it a 7-1.
Nice. I thought you'd go higher, honestly.
It's interesting you said 7-1. That's exactly the score I was thinking. I was thinking this is a 7-1 dead on. So yeah, that's my score. I will
No
say
CA?
No, it's just weird that you said 7-1 because it's exactly what I was thinking for it. But I'm saying 7-1 for kind of different reasons, I guess. I mean, I just think like this album isn't something I'm typically into, like all the time. Like, I definitely am not going to like come back to this very often, but I feel like for a headphones record, it's probably like one of the most interesting of the year. Like,
Yeah.
I think like no one's doing this, and I love that. No one's bold enough to do this. No one's weird enough to do something like this. I feel like if Black Midi were to continue on, they probably would have went in this direction and maybe disappointed fans. So it's cool that like we're getting a version of Black Midi, but done in like this just new jazzy style. And like he put a spin on something that like I feel like you couldn't put a spin on. You know, like it already was its own spin, and now it's like here's an even further like going deep down this weirdo rabbit hole. And it's like I've never heard any music like this really. There's really no like clear, like we said it before, there's no clear choruses or verses. No. It's just like pure like throwing everything at the wall. Yeah, it is self-indulgent most of the time. That's over the top most of the time. But you're not gonna hear another record like this.
No.
For a long time. I mean, like, if you ever need something just interesting to listen to, this is probably going to be your guy.
If
like
you want to do
Greep,
some Sudoku,
yes,
like fast,
yeah, something, yeah. Geordie Greep is going to be your guy if you ever want to hear something that's just like, because sometimes I do get in those just moods where I'm like, I don't want to listen to MJ Lenderman today. I want to listen to something that's like challenging, that is just like, what's going to scratch every itch in my brain musically. And it's like, this is kind of the perfect answer to that, and you gotta appreciate it, even though if it's not the catchiest thing. And I know we're always about headbanging and stuff on this show, but like I do love headbanging. I feel like there's some parts where you can headbang on this record, so you gotta give it up for him, dude. I think it's it's just a really impressive record. I would give it higher just for like being that impressive, but it's just not accessible, you know.
Yeah.
Like I'll probably listen to this once every 6 months just to like go back and be like, damn, that's crazy. So yeah, 7-1.
Yeah, I am similar to what you guys are saying, but I guess from my perspective, I was challenged by this a bit more because, like, I when I'm trying to like summarize like these things that we're listening to, it's like, what do I remember about it? And obviously, because of the nature of the music, I'm not necessarily going to remember a chorus or a something. So what I remember liking the song the most that Geordie doesn't sing on. And that's not a good sign. I find Geordie's, like, I know you like him, like, kind of spitting. I don't really like that. It's just kind of loses me. And it kind of, because it's so dense that it almost has an opposite effect of overstimulation, where I just like cruise right over it and zone out completely during it. Kind of like whenever I was in college and I wanted to study really hard, I'd put on like crazy jazz.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of what this turned into for me. But I, at the same time, very much respect the like insane skill and vision that this takes to make. It's really not my jam. So it's just so a lot.
It's so dense.
It's maximalism and minimalism all within an hour and 10 minutes or whatever it is. And it's really impressive. I don't think that people that listen to this music want what I want from it. So, you know, I'll just take that for what it is. It's a good piece of music. But I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10.
And you know what? Guys? It's a 6.9.
That's a 6.9.
It's a 6.9.
I think that's a slightly contested hell yeah, maybe.
A slightly
That's my
contested
favorite score so far.
Slightly contested hell yeah.
It's a hell yeah under review.
Yeah.
An under review hell yeah.
Stop
that we'll
the
never
count.
review. Yeah.
Stop the count.
Stop the count. Hell yeah. Yeah. A slightly contested hell yeah.
Yeah.
We'll give it that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like GREEPER fans will, like
Lap
are
this
going to
up.
Yeah.
fucking love this. People that aren't fans of this, I think there's something to take away. Like I that's what I'll come back to. Like if you just want something that's just like going to be a lot, going to be something you've never heard of, I would probably recommend this record every time, even if I didn't like it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I mean, there was times when I listened to this where I was like, "Fuck,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is a lot."
Yeah.
Like I don't want to keep listening to this record. Like there was parts where I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's just so much.
I never reached that point with it. There were definitely times where I was like kind of just floating in a composition, like looking for something to grab onto to hold my interest. But then it would hit something that I was just like, it felt like a bolt of lightning where I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
I do think it'll probably be a divisive record for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be people who are like, hands down, this is my album of the year. Nothing is even touching this.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then there's going to be people who are like, this guy sounds insane.
Yeah.
There's nothing here. So I think like us being somewhat like in the middle.
Down the line.
Yeah,
It makes sense.
Yeah, like because I think that we can respect somebody like this taking such a big creative swing, even
Yeah.
though it's not in our like wheelhouse.
I can
Yeah.
totally understand how someone would be like, "This is the craziest thing I've ever heard. I
Yeah.
love this," because I couldn't do this. I
Yeah.
wouldn't even come close.
That's kind of how I feel about it. Like, it
If-
is one of the fucking craziest things I've ever heard. And, like, more than anything else, it just makes me excited for Geordie Greep.
Yeah.
Like, I was excited for Black Midi. Like, Black Midi is one of the, like, whenever they put out a record, it was an event. Because you just don't know what's going to be on there. And now I feel like we have that again with Geordie Greep,
If you judge music, if you're there's probably people like this that are like, I want to listen to the most impressive thing that I can possibly listen to.
Yeah.
This is for you. If you're more of a person that gets down with like hooks and melodies and things,
don't even try.
don't bother.
Yeah, don't
even try.
Well, let me hit you with the Magician. It's 12 minutes
yeah,
long.
It's 12 minutes long.
Right. Exactly.
Here's Bongo season.
Yeah.
Well, you might actually get somebody on Bongo.
Yeah,
season.
Bongo's be like, wow.
Yeah, you like Bongo season?
Yeah.
The rest of it is not
Yeah.
like that at all.
No, but I agree. There is something exciting about having a guy working in contemporary music that has like an audience willing to do something like
just
this.
willing
Yeah.
to do whatever the fuck you want. Yeah, it reminds me of like Julian Casablancas when he started the Voids, and like I was like that, like everyone was like, wow, this is so weird, and then you like hear this and you're like, you don't even fucking know.
Yeah.
dude.
Not even
Like
close.
not even
No
fucking.
idea.
We
Yeah.
used an old synth.
Yeah,
And
it's
he's just
like,
like, I got a
this-
bunch of people from Brazil I never met to just
Yeah.
be like freak out for 14
Yeah.
bars.
Right. It's like,
While
you
I
don't
talk
know-
about coming.
You don't know solo work like Geordie Greep
No.
does. Yeah.
No.
He just really let it all fly.
Fear the Greeper, dude.
Fear the fucking Greeper. It's Geordie Greep. It's the news sound, and it's a 6.9, and that's a slightly contested hell yes. And it's I Quit My Band. So thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the review. Let us know in the comments what you thought of the new sound from Geordie Greep. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Go follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Go subscribe to our Patreon page. We're doing stuff over there. We hope you had fun. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Jade, I hope you really hated it so you could have been like new sound, more like new brown.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Are you still
A
going?
bonus. Yeah, I'm still good.
No.
Okay, cool.